But our second big focus tonight is on what's happening in Bangladesh, because the attacks on minorities are not ending. In fact, we are now getting some breaking updates. According to Bangladesh media, another case of mob violence has emerged following Deepu Chandra Das's killing. Amrit Mandal, alias Samrat, who was 29 years old, was beaten to death allegedly by a mob. The incident occurred at around 11 p.m. on Wednesday night in Hosaindanga Old Market in Pangsha Upazila. This is the report that is coming to us, that another minority youth, clearly a Hindu youth, has been killed by mob in Bangladesh barely a week after Deepu Chandra Das's brutal and barbaric killing in Bangladesh as well. So what's really happening as far as Bangladesh is concerned? After a bomb attack on the eve of Christmas that killed one, more attacks coming to light against Dhaka University as well in Bangladesh. The Madhur canteen at Dhaka University was vandalized. A man chanting religious slogans, quoting Qazi Nazrul Islam, carried out the destruction both inside and outside the university campus. Remember earlier on the night of December 18 and 19, widespread unrest erupted following Hadi's death. And who were on targets? Protesters even targeted offices of two leading newspapers, Pratham Allo and the Daily Star. This goes on to show that this unrest and even Deepu Das's lynching have nothing to do with India or its policies. This was the original blame that was being pinned on India. People said anti-India sentiment is responsible for this. But this is an anti-liberal, anti-democracy movement in Bangladesh running amok even as Yunus and his ministers fan the fire. Is the US finally waking up to this? A bipartisan group of US representatives sent a letter to Interim Chief Advisor Mohammad Yunus ahead of the 2026 February polls. Their key messages included: 1. Restoration of a free and fair election. They expressed concern over the blanket ban of the Awami League and also raised concerns on the revival of a flawed international crimes tribunal that could undermine electoral credibility and disenfranchise voters. Things are turning against Yunus internally as well. After initially using Osman Hadi's killing as a ruse to attack India, now his own brother has blamed Yunus' administration. His brother has blamed Yunus, saying he was killed under your regime, so Yunus is answerable. He said Yunus has to take responsibility, that all of this is a ploy to delay upcoming elections. He even threatened that Yunus should leave if he is unable to serve justice in this matter. But let's get you more as far as this latest news that is coming in is concerned. Another case of mob violence emerging in Bangladesh. Following Deepu Chandra Das's lynching, Amrit Mandal, alias Samrat, has now been beaten to death by a mob. The incident occurred at around 11 p.m. on Wednesday night. Let me go across to my colleague Siddhant, who's joining us with more on this. Siddhant.
That's right, Shivani. This is being reported by Pratham Allo. Now they have reported that there is this another case of mob lynching which took place in Bangladesh on Wednesday, where a Hindu youth, Amrit Mandal, has been beaten to death in Rajbari. In fact, this has been confirmed to Pratham Allo by the local police station. Amrit Mandal, alias Samrat, was a leader of the Samrat Bahini listed by the police. He was the son of Akshay Mandal, a resident of Hussein Danga village. Police is right now investigating the matter, and the incident has created tension in the area. Now, the reports also say that he was involved in some kind of extortion, etc., etc. But Shivani, this is the second incident in a week where Hindu has been targeted, has been mob lynched in Bangladesh, and now various reports are telling different reports are telling different story. But cops have to say that they are right now investigating the matter.
Right, Siddhant. Very, very concerning updates coming in from Bangladesh, and there's no end to this Islamist fire that has broken out across the country. There is now some global alarm as far as these atrocities are concerned. Even internally, as I mentioned, there is pressure on Yunus' administration. So will he finally act under this pressure that is coming from all quarters? That's coming up with our guests. I want to go across to Sabir Mustafa, senior journalist who's joining us. We are getting reports, Mr. Mustafa, of another Hindu youth being lynched in Bangladesh. This is barely a week after Deepu Das's very barbaric killing. What do you make of these developments?
Well, the Amrit Mandal case is not as straightforward as the Dipu Das case. Dipu Das was a communal lynching. There's absolutely no doubt that he was accused of blasphemy, which nobody has been able to verify or corroborate. And so it was a rumor, and he was just pushed into the arms of the mob, which went ahead and beat him to death. But Amrit Mandal, it seems, there may be some other circumstances involved because the police are saying they have arrested one of his accomplices, associates, who is a Muslim, and that they're accused of running an extortion gang. So I would, I would caution about bracketing Amrit Mandal's death with Dipu Das. There may be different kind of.
But it does speak to the kind of law and order situation that is prevailing in Bangladesh.
Yes, this is exactly what I was going to say, that the one thing that kind of binds these two are the impunity with which mobs go about wreaking vengeance on people they think have done something wrong. Now, this has been going on throughout the past year and a half since Muhammad Yunus has been in power. Now, mob killing is not absolutely new in Bangladesh, but they used to happen very, kind of rarely and on specific cases. But this time, over the last year and a half, these mobs have been organizing and attacking people for various reasons, political reasons, religious reasons, or just vengeance, personal reasons, and they have been getting away with it. Police have been unable to, intervene or bring to justice any of these perpetrators of mob violence.
What we saw, for example, in the last few days,
this has been termed,
is, for example, Dhaka University coming under attack. Media houses coming under attack, journalists being threatened that apparently a student group is threatening that if you don't remove a certain journalist, then, we're going to take action. So this just tells you that there is a certain element of an Islamist mindset that has taken over. Anybody who doesn't agree with you, anybody who doesn't see eye to eye is being brandished as either anti-national or a terrorist. And we're also seeing, for example, the BNP heir who has landed in Bangladesh, one of his first comments have been how the country is going to be run according to the teachings of Prophet Muhammad. How do you see this?
Well, I think that he has to say because he's going to an election. And since I would say more than 95% of the voters are Muslims and many of them are devout Muslims, so these, commitment to run the country according to the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad. Even Sheikh Hasina used to say that the country will be run according to the Declaration of Medina, which was promulgated by Muhammad many hundred years ago. So everyone plays to that religious sentiment, and nobody wants to alienate these people. So I would not put too much emphasis on that because BNP, if you look at its past, they have been more or less a kind of bourgeois nationalist party, but which has governed in a secular way. They have not imposed any religious laws on the country.
But sir, do you feel NND Dubey, former DIG, BSF and DG NI is also joining us? But Mr. Mustafa, a quick comment from you before I go to him. Do you feel that there is indeed a rise in Islamist passions in Bangladesh, something Muhammad Yunus himself is guilty of fanning, and his ministers particularly?
Absolutely. I've said this many, many times in different platforms and in my writings that since August 5 last year, many Islamist forces, which used to be on the fringes, and they were kept on the fringes by both the Awami League and the BNP, they came into the mainstream and they came very close to the power base. And Yunus kind of not only tolerated them, but kind of condoned their actions and all the smashing of sculptures and attack on religious, even Muslim religious institutions like the Sufi graveyards. Those things have gone on with impunity. So yes, absolutely, the government has to take responsibility. And not only that, I would say that the government treated them as their kind of supporters. So the government, of course, is responsible for the rise of this, extremist violence.
NND Dubey, I want to come to you. What we're witnessing, initially people tried to pin the blame on India, suggesting that, this anti-India sentiment because India has treated Bangladesh in a certain way, which is why it led to, for example, Dipu Das's lynching. But none of them is cutting eyes because you're seeing these Islamist groups attack cultural symbols of Bangladesh, not of India. They're attaching cultural symbols of the 1971 liberation war. They're attacking their own cultural icons, political icons of the past. They're attacking, centers of culture and art, possibly a Bangla identity. This is not because of anything that India could have done. This is a pure free run for Islamists.
Actually, the situation is in a very mixed symmetry, because if you see, the Jamaat never favored the India's role in liberation of Bangladesh. So the cultural monuments, the national pride, the things which you are referring of 1971, basically these are the evidences, these are the, you can say, national signs Bangladesh used to take pride of. But the question is that Jamaat, who is adamant to bring Sharia in the land of Bangladesh, never liked it. They have always been opposing these things. So they just want to wipe it out from the land of Bangladesh. And that's why they are one of the main stakeholder in the upcoming elections of the February 2026. Now, my apprehension is that the killings and the killings on the name of, you can say, religion, minority killings, all these things are going to increase the moment Jamaat will assess whether they are losing the ground, because I'm worried about in the month of January and the beginning of February. They must be calculating currently where they are standing in the entire matrix of political process in Bangladesh in the February. So there is a competition, as you know. BNP is obviously leading the race, but Jamaat is basically chasing.
Yes.
And the day Jamaat will find that they are not holding the ground in Bangladesh, they are again going to do the same thing in Bangladesh. And the killings and violence are going to increase, because they will then disrupt the elections, which are going to be held in February.
Yes. No, already Hadi's brother has also now, in a way, said this. That his killing was also, in a way, a tactic to delay elections. We are getting these feelers from security establishment as well, that, there is this entire Yunus, Jamaat-e-Islami, hand-in-glove plan, because both don't feel that they will have relevance if this political instability or on-ground instability goes.
Absolutely, you have touched the nerve. Actually, the Hadi's killing is one of the attempt. This is one of the area which Jamaat is going to further explore to make their ground wider in Bangladesh. Because killings of a student leader like Hadi, it's going to help them, because then people will get radicalized. They will be anti-India.
Yes.
And the advantage of all these things are going in the favor of Jamaat.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. If Jamaat will assess that they are just behind in the competition in the month of January and by end of January,
attacks.
They are going to increase the attack. They are going to do a similar type of action in Bangladesh to hold the ground. To make
that
the
is
anti-India sentiment. That is the biggest issue which I'm looking for right now.
Absolutely. No, that is the biggest worry that everybody feels, that this is going to increase, because the elements that want to stay in control are actually the ones who are perhaps behind what is the unrest in Bangladesh. I do thank both of our guests for joining us. I also spoke to Mohibul Hasan Chaudhry, former Deputy Minister in Sheikh Hasina government, on whether the pressure that is finally seemingly building even from US quarters on Yunus and from within will work. Take a look. Mr. Chaudhry, thanks a lot for speaking to us here on Plain Speak. I want to begin by asking you, finally, for the first time, we are seeing some pressure building from US, for example, on the Yunus administration to suggest that if you ban political actors like the Awami League, the elections cannot be considered free and fair. All parties and all, political actors must be allowed to participate. How do you feel about that, first up?
First of all, it goes against the principle that most of the democratic world stands on, which is that all political parties, irrespective of their ideology, whether you agree with them or not, unless that ideology threatens the very fabric of the state, should be allowed to take part in a political activism. Now, Awami League has been banned by the Yunus regime in Bangladesh. without showing any justification for it, any reasoning for it, and under a terrorism act, meaning that apparently Awami League was active in terrorist activities. Awami League was in government, and when did the party get involved in terrorism? There's no explanation on that. So it is a fundamentally illegal and unconstitutional order. And so far, that particular government, Yunus regime, had been claiming that he has support from the Western world, mainly from the United States and Europe, etc. So, and now it shows that he was just bluffing the people of the country. And this bluff is now evident, and it's prominent. It's all over. It's in front of the people of the country that he was never supported by anyone. It was just him, alongside with some interest groups, pressure groups, and the militants that he eventually freed from the prison, and their supporters who had staged this riotous movement.
But are you happy in some sense that the US is finally publicly taking note, because they were maintaining a conspicuous silence so far? In fact, Western countries, European countries also have, for example, condemned Hadi's killings, but they wouldn't say anything about what happened to Deepu Das, for example. And slowly we are seeing that turning. So what do you make of the US finally coming out and making itself heard?
You see, in the United States, Yunus had been maintaining his position through the Clinton Foundation and the Biden family. It is evident, it is a public record that he had been donating to Hillary Clinton's campaigns and also the Clinton Foundation. His money, basically the money that he had laundered out of Bangladesh. And therefore, he had some standing in the State Department because of his influence on the Clinton Foundation and the Biden family. Now that they are no longer in seat of government, they are no longer in power, of course, that position is no longer the case, at least when with regards to the United States. And the current administration in the US, I know there are issues with the trade relationship with different countries, but when it comes to the rise of Islamic extremism, when it comes to radicalization, they are very serious on this matter. Bangladesh may be a small country geographically, but there are 170 million people living in that particular, in our country, and a big diaspora lives in the United States. Now, the government there, the security establishment, the intelligence establishment do realize that if the extremists find a safe haven, and the radical fundamentalists, it's not just the militants who are a problem, but the preachers, those who preach a very extremist, fundamentalist interpretation of Islam, if they find a safe haven in Bangladesh, the diaspora that lives abroad, especially in the United States, will be negatively affected in terms of their ideological inclination, their brainwashing, and their own view of the society that they live in. They live in the West, and the United States has slowly woken up to this reality that Bangladesh can pose a serious threat to their own social fabric as well as the region. So, of course, they have therefore expressed that in the absence or the vacuum of not having Awami League in the political place, will pave the path for the extremists to be stronger.
Having said that, many still feel that they're not really addressing this whole rise of Islamism issue in as many words. So maybe there are other back channel avenues that are being used, because you're very right. Rise of Islamism in Bangladesh or anywhere in the world is going to be a concern for the rest of the world. It's not going to be just about India being worried about it. But I also want to ask you, finally, there seems to be pressure building within Bangladesh on Yunus, because Osman Hadi's brother has also pinned the blame on his administration for his brother's killing, and even gone on to suggest that there will be no elections allowed unless there is justice in that case. How do you read that?
You see, the whole incident is shrouded in mystery. The person himself, he was not a politically significant character before his death. He was a fringe element. He was not neither taken on by the Yunus's political party nor any other major political party. He was a lone voice. And out of his inner circle, apparently an assailant had attacked him. So who had done this? From where this was planned? None of this is very clear. I mean, this have to be properly investigated. Before anything has been investigated, there had been a lot of instigation by Yunus government's ministers. They had been calling for blood, calling for revenge attacks on whom they were not very clear. And therefore, they were asking the extremist elements, the fringe elements who are now occupying the capital city to go on a rampage and attack whatever they thought was pro-secular liberal ideology. So they had gone on to attack two media outlets, the Chayanot, the Bengali Cultural Heritage Organization, and Indian High Commission buildings in Chittagong. And my home was also attacked and burned down because they consider me as someone, secular and liberal, being part of Bangladesh Awami League. So they had been doing this, and over the last couple of days, there was a lot of chaos across the country. One of the hypotheses, at least among some informed quarters, is that this is a plot. This is a plot to create enough trouble in order to postpone the election. If there is an election, I mean, a lot of people are saying that these people speak for the country, for Bangladesh. It's absolutely not true. Because there's such a fringe element, yes, they can gather a big mass because it's pretty easy to bring in a lot of people in one place. I mean, if you give some money, you will have large crowd gathered in Bangladesh. It's a very highly densely populated country with world's most densely populated city as the capital. So getting some people together is an easy job, but getting into government with public mandate through ballot is a very difficult job. So this is what they're concerned about. They're scared about. They will go into political insignificance, irrelevance.
If elections were to happen. But is Yunus feeling the heat finally? Do you feel? Because, his comments on Deepu Datta's killing, the government's views finally coming out, or condemnation finally coming out, there is a sense building that now there is at least some pressure on him to control this. Is he feeling the heat?
Of course, he has to feel the heat because he's not in control of the government. Whilst he's not in control of the government, he's trying to create anarchy so that he can show to others that it's not that he is the one who is responsible for the situation that it is Bangladesh is going through. It's just that it's a general chaotic situation and being done by Awami League activists or those who oppose the government. That's what he's trying to prove. But when you look at the behavior of his ministers, they are the ones going out there in public and demanding that people go for revenge attacks. I mean, they have been calling for blood to blood revenge, dead body to dead body revenge. They were calling for martyrdom, just how a jihadist team or jihadist militant organization would do. So he's instigating them. So therefore he's under pressure now. It is clear to the world, and unfortunately, European Union and the other stakeholders are still in support of him because you've got to understand his business relationship with Europe. He's a partner of Europe's one of the biggest telecommunication company, Telenor. So he's 35% owner of the biggest company of Bangladesh, which is called the Grameenphone, which is majority owned by the Telenor, which is a major conglomerate in European Union. So his investment in Europe and his lobbyists in Europe are still active in his favor, but even they realize that their poster child has failed. And it is time to call a shot on him, and therefore he must leave. I mean, in order to protect their own image.
Absolutely. All right, Mr. Chaudhary, I leave it at that. I do thank you for speaking to us.